Okay, I am at Grevilla. That's Grevillea, Grevilla Street and Euclid Avenue. That's where I captured the third party in the black BMW on the sidewalk, headlights on, remaining in relevant position with the communication device as the state is engaged in surveillance, an airplane directly over me on this street. While the state is also amplifying the sound of the train while I'm walking, this is creating amplified audible activity for monitoring with communication devices, and while the state is also turning off the street lamps. This third party also, while I am recording audibly, the same license plate 8 Robert Carey George 140 is sitting in the car and now turned on and off, flicked it on and off his headlights at the same time that I'm narrating P.O.C. Now, again, third parties act with knowledge of every word that I'm saying. They're stalkers. They engage in surveillance with the state. They act with specific knowledge, as I've stated. And that is what that third party is doing. Not only is it P.O.C. for monitoring with communication devices, it is that which they engage in maliciously as they listen to me speak about their criminal conduct. The state engages in the same conduct. So the state is also turning back on that street lamp right now. It is back on, and the third party remains sitting in that BMW. This is all elements of the system of monitoring in operation, and I'm speaking to that which is occurring as I travel on foot, which is the same conduct at every place that I am at. It just appears in different methods, but it's the same exact elements. When you're outside, the state is engaged in using much of which they engaged in that I documented inside of Economy Inn, sounding their sirens, using light activity that is aiming light onto the building, onto the room and into the window at all times. The state is engaged in that as I travel on foot as well, using the street lights, using the even the traffic lights. Third parties remain in relevant position, and they do that by group stalking. There is a group presence. There is constantly someone in the path with communication devices. And I just want to stress that this third party stalker, because that is what he is literally acting in concert, turning his headlights on and off as the state is turning on and off the street lamp. That is not a coincidence. That's group stalker conduct. And that's 8 Robert Carey George 140 at the same time the state is flying a plane on this street. That is Grevilla. And across the street is the Wiener Schnitzel, the auto zone, where third parties are in the driveways aiming their headlights across the street. This is called concerted conduct. This is P.O.C. And it is 9:11 p.m. Okay, this is, I'm at 1357. Yes, 1357 at the dentist office. It says Dr. Cruz. It's closed right now. It is 9:33 p.m. This is an audio documentation to what I am capturing on video as I continue to walk north on Euclid Avenue. I just captured a video at 9:32 p.m. of the state flying from behind this dentist building where I'm at on Euclid, and it turns and flies in line to my position on the sidewalk on Euclid Avenue and makes a quick, after it crosses path above me, it literally flies in a circle and goes back behind. And I'm looking at it now on the opposite side as it's just going back from where the state is just engaging and flying in circles and consistently flying over me as I continue to walk north. And I'm capturing video and pictures of group stalking third parties that are adding into activity with their vehicles because it is nighttime, so they're using light, they're creating light using their vehicles principally. The state is also using the street lights that are going on and off, and third parties are also engaged in that group stalking conduct where they maintain presence, lining my path, which is what I am documenting. It is occurring in a concert with the state that is stalking. This is the group stalking system, and it is not a coincidence that the state is engaged in stalking and following me as I am also engaged in traveling, and third parties engage in being present in the path while also creating activity that serves the purpose of monitoring with communication devices. I am showing how that system and how that concerted conduct looks and how it behaves. And I am still at 1357 Euclid Avenue, and there is another plane flying directly over the dentist office. It is flying west, and it's got a blinking green and red light, green, red, and white light. That is the same plane. The state is just engaging and flying in circles. And as I move north, they just fly in those circles, moving as I move, flying directly over me. This is P.O.C. It's 9:35 p.m. And this is group stalking as I left third-party facilitating venue where the state was flying directly over my room. Now the state is flying directly over me on Euclid Avenue as I'm walking north. And third-party stalkers, third parties are acting with that state. That's P.O.C. Now listen to the background. This is how the state creates audible activity. The sprinklers are coming on. The state also used the street lamps when I was standing at in front of the third party engaged in P.O.C. that I captured in video. The street lamp turned on and off, the creating light activity. This is the creation of audible activity in front of 1357, the dentist office. It's 9:35 p.m. This audible activity as the state is flying over me right now in an airplane. That's how they combine those elements. That's how they do so. Third parties in front of me, like roaches, are crowded around in a driveway, aligned to me in their cars, creating light activity. That is how they engage in the elements of monitoring. The state above me flying over, creating audible activity with the sprinklers, light activity in front of me through third parties in their vehicles. That's P.O.C. And these are the ways they engage in group stalking and monitoring. It's 9:36 p.m. 9:37 p.m. That's the state flying directly over again in airplane. Which I just captured in images, and that is the second plane as I stand here remaining. I'm sorry, that's the third plane as I stand here remaining in front of the dentist's office. Remember, they turned on the sprinklers. And that they turn on the sprinklers. That's audible activity. The state continues to fly directly over me. I captured an image of a group stalker. He walks past. At the same time, the state arrives in a plane, amplifying that sound, and the state is literally flying in a circle back around and over the dentist. If I remain here, they'll just fly in a circle, flying directly over the dentist office at 1357 Euclid Avenue. In the background, you hear traffic. This is a means of audible activity. This is monitoring and group stalking outside. In the background, you hear the amplified train. That is the means of making it louder than it actually is. That is monitoring conduct by the state that amplifies noise. That's what that is. That's P.O.C. This is monitoring outside. It is 9:39 p.m. License plate 7 Frank SHO27, crossing path as I'm walking across Acacia and Euclid, and that is while the state is engaged in amplifying the sound of plane activity. That's just a group stalker creating light activity and crossing path. That's called the elements of light, the elements of relevant positioning, while the state is also creating audible activity via airplanes. P.O.C. that's 9:40 p.m. Monitoring ongoing. P.O.C. I am looking at the state engaged in surveillance. You've got more than one aircraft. As I stand on Euclid and Maitland, Maitland Street, the state is directly aligned to the street as I'm crossing, and the state is also flying a plane that's patrolling as it's going back and forth, flying north and then flying back south. And now as I stand in the middle of the, to the end of the street, this blinking plane that is in motion, as opposed to the plane that I'm looking at that is remaining solitary as I remain still in the street. This is how the state follows with airplanes, using both planes to create audible activity and planes to engage in stalking surveillance. The plane is coming toward me now. The same one that I presume was flying directly in circles over the dentist building at 1357 Euclid Avenue, flying toward me now as I stand at Euclid and Maitland. This is nearest address 929 Euclid Avenue or 929 Maitland Avenue. This is a residential area, and the state is flying directly over the street, approaching me, and third parties are in the street as well, driving, that would be east on the same street. That's creating light activity. The state also has a third aircraft that is a helicopter that is flying very quickly east behind the, This is a residential area. Behind this residential area, it is parallel, flying parallel to Euclid Avenue as I'm looking at it in front of me. So that's 3 aircrafts that I'm looking at. It is 9:48 p.m. That's P.O.C. for the state engaged in stalking as I travel on foot. And I did capture that in an image. You have the state that's directly above me. That's what I caught an image of at 9:48 p.m. And the helicopter is flying in front. I'm facing I'm standing on Maitland, facing east, and so the helicopter was to my east, flying north behind the residential area, and that is the state stalking as I'm walking north on Euclid Avenue. This is P.O.C. for group stalking. There are no coincidences where the state is engaged in that conduct, by the way. I am showing how third parties are cockroaches. And they're cockroaches because they literally they come after like after a morsel of food, and they're everywhere, and they engage in scrambling and being present, trying even to hide sometimes, or being out in the open and just moving around doing whatever they do with their communication devices. They're just in relevant position creating activity, and they are like cockroaches, and that's what I'm capturing. The state also engaged in that same cockroach conduct, but it's group stalking. I'm right now currently surrounded as the state is flying east in front of me and also flying over me, continue flying over me. I've got the state to my right, right in front of me, behind me, and also flying east beside me. And this is license plate 6 Charlie Wendy Nancy 702. That places light activity driving past while the state is surrounding me in all directions with airplanes that are both in still, just like I showed on August 30th, 2020, while I stood at the corner of Chevron and I showed on video that the state was surrounding me at all angles. That is exactly what the state is doing right now as I stand at Euclid Avenue and Maitland. The state is on every side. The state is also moving east consistently, so that's patrolling. The state is just continuing to cross path and patrolling where I remain. And as I move, they engage in patrolling, flying over me. This is a means of activity. This is a big truck. That's third-party activity. That's third-party activity. That's intentional conduct by third parties. They are contributing. They are not creating activity coincidentally while the state is stalking. This is how a group stalking system operates when it is being operated by an entity. There is no coincidental activity that is created. That's P.O.C. And this is a means of constant activity as I travel, and the state, as I've already proven, remains present, engaged in stalking conduct. As I stand at Euclid Avenue, on every side of me, remaining still, and also patrolling airplane directly over my head, flying west over Maitland as I stand at Maitland, and also flying east repeatedly. In front of me, as I face east, you have the aircrafts that are moving, flying east repeatedly. This is P.O.C. of group stalking. And it all prefaced by the state stalking conduct. And I want to note, this is U.S. that is continuously third-party engaged in using their large trucks that continue to create activity. That is not by happenstance. That is the third parties creating, engaging in the element of relevant positioning and activity creation, in addition to every other third party that is also engaging in relevant positioning and activity creation as they are crossing path at the same zone of relevant positioning where the state is stalking via aircraft. That's P.O.C. It's 9:51 p.m. This is the state flying directly over 7-Eleven. Flying directly over 7-Eleven while third party 7, Y as in young, Apple, not K as in night, 513, and third party license 6, J as in jolly, V as in Victor, B as in boy, 725 in relevant position and light activity. And I captured images of that plane flying directly over 7-Eleven as I am walking out, and the third party employees inside of 7-Eleven engaging in the P.O.C. This third party whose license plate that I just cited, communication device, that's what she represents, and it is in hand while she's adding light activity, sitting in her car while the state is flying over. This is the absence of coincidence. This is a third party engaged in P.O.C. with the state that just literally flew over the 7-Eleven as I captured images of it. Her license plate again, 6JVB725, acting with every other third party that also entered on the security cameras inside of 7-Eleven while the state is engaged in stalking at the 7-Eleven. That's group stalking. That's what P.O.C. is, and that is where the state is engaged in stalking. That's where the system is in operation, and they engage in that ceaseless conduct. So that is audio and visual of the state literally flying at low elevation, as I have already captured actually during daytime hours where the state flew over its own fake sun object in the same parking lot while third parties were doing the exact same thing that 6JVB725 was doing, which was adding light activity. That was the tow truck. Recall my documentation. I uploaded that video following my purchase at 7-Eleven where the third party was creating light activity in relevant position to me while the state was flying over and the fake sun was also present. That is a form of light activity. This is third parties creating light activity at the same time that the state is also flying over. It is 10:01 p.m. That is P.O.C. and it doesn't get any clearer than that. That is following my purchase at 7-Eleven. And again, this is 7-Eleven on Euclid Avenue, 731 South Euclid Avenue, where I just completed a purchase, subject to the system in operation by the employees and patrons alike. This is another airplane that is flying directly over the 7-Eleven as well. It is flying at a higher elevation. This is license plate 7 Robert George 117. That's light activity and audible activity. That's how ordinary things that you think third parties are just engaging in, where they're operating a system, it has elemental substance. That's what the conduct is. That's what it is serving while the state is stalking. That's P.O.C. Okay, so as I continue walking, you have third parties that are aiming light onto the sidewalk through parking in a side alley. This is a form for engagement in the same pattern of conduct, license plate 8, Mary Thomas, Y as in Young, 553. The third party on a bike aiming a spotlight, and also the third party in her vehicle is aiming headlights onto the sidewalk as I cross path. This is the same conduct, group stalking conduct, as I'm looking up over the building and the state is flying west directly over the street where third parties also happen to be aiming light. He has a flashlight. This is a Latino male with a bald head, a burgundy shirt, blue jeans and black tennis shoes on a orange bike that says Trek on the side. He's got a flashlight in his hand. He was aiming that flashlight on the voltage box while the third party had her headlights that were also directing light into that same direction. That's light activity. That's what third parties do. They add light. And light is relevant. It is central to monitoring with communication devices. And that conduct is occurring while the state is flying over this street, over the building I'm standing next to. I'm in between 715 and the next building next to that is where it says Rico Menudo, Tacos, Tortas, Sopas, Birria. I don't see an address though, but it's like a little side alley with a voltage box in between. And as I walked back to get the license plate, the third party on the bike with a flashlight in his hand was aiming light onto that. That's just aiming light onto the surface in front of me. And the third party with their headlights, who also you heard talking loudly, it's just creating audible activity while the state is also present flying over. That's P.O.C. and that is group stalking conduct. This is another example of the way they engage in that stalking conduct. It is stalking because they are present with a criminal motive to monitor in concert with the state using communication devices, and they are present engaging in that criminal act. They are therefore present on behalf of the state that is the stalker. That is exactly what I have direct evidence of. The state of California engaged in stalking conduct, and that is hence the term group stalking. That is a definition of it because they are engaged in that criminal system with the state. And the state openly engages in stalking conduct, and it is in no way exclusive to the state. I'm showing how the third parties, that is the people of the state of California, that engage in an identical behavioral pattern amongst a bunch of strangers. That is how you see the system. This is why the state engages in using airplanes, creating audible activity over an expansive area. And as I walk, you got third parties that park on opposite sides of the street. I'm looking at a truck right now, merely creating light activity, while this one creating audible activity. Those are called criminal cowards because they speed past, because believe me, they do not want me reciting their license plate on my podcast and on the internet. Those are third-party cowards because they are running while they're engaging in criminal conduct. And it's not a coincidence that is amplified audible activity while the state is literally above this street. I'm at Euclid in Nevada, walking north on Euclid Avenue. That's P.O.C. And the use of traffic, the sound of traffic, that is the type of activity that the state would amplify inside of my room. And it is an unnaturally loud sound because they are amplifying it. And they would amplify it to mirror my movement. So as I make any sudden move, you would suddenly hear noise. That's stalking with noise. That is relevant to the legislation that needs to be passed that I've already spoken on, S.I.I.S, systematic infliction of inhumane suffering, stalking with light, stalking with activity, and stalking by entity. And third parties represent that entity when they are engaged in the criminal system of monitoring on behalf of that state because it is group stalking conduct. And so this is the ways in which those elements play out. And this is how third parties engage in group stalking conduct. The skateboard is audible activity. He's crossing path with a communication device. An ongoing light is present, and third parties in traffic are creating light activity. Just like I told you across the street with a third party directly across, sitting in the street using their reverse lights. This is P.O.C. That is P.O.C. And you've got another plane I am literally standing in the field in between Valero and Juan Pollo at 615 Euclid, at the intersection of Nevada and Euclid, and I'm looking at the planes that are in the sky over in front of me as I face east. So what I documented at the street before, I think it was Mateville. You can listen to my previous episode, and it's I was standing still and I was surrounded in the same way that I was surrounded as I documented in a video on August 30th, where the state was in planes on every direction, in addition to planes flying east, patrolling over and flying over my head as I stood still in the street. That was about maybe 25 minutes ago. As I stand here at the field, I'm facing east, and you've got the state that is literally just trailing as I walk north. They're remaining to my east, and then engage in flying over my head. Just engaged in recently flying directly over 7-Eleven, which I captured in images and in audio. That is what the state is doing. It's just stalking in an airplane. That's literally what they're doing, stalking in airplanes. They take on different roles. The planes are used to create audible activity. The planes are used to also remain above me, stationary in the sky, and they just literally are following in the sky. That's the stalking conduct, which I have documented for a very long time. I have referred to them as those that quote unquote look like stars, and they are not stars. They remain directly above me, and they move as I move. That's the state using aircrafts to stalk and surveil and remain present where I go, while the state also engages in flying at lower elevations to create not only a distraction from those planes that I'm documenting engaged in surveillance, but also to create audible activity for monitoring. That is P.O.C. It's 10:08 p.m. and I continue to walk north on Euclid Avenue, and this is exactly the kind of cockroach stalking conduct that the state was engaged in while I was inside of a room at Economy Inn. And this is what I come out because not only do I have a right to not be subject to such weirdo, psychotic, and criminal conduct, but you have a whole bunch of cowards that need to be documented as such, documented as the criminals that they are, and I get much more material when I am out amongst them, and if anything, at the end of the day, I'm going to document it. I am looking up in the sky at Nevada and Euclid, and you've got a third-party stalker that's just on the sidewalk in relevant position, and what I'm telling you is that there is no coincidence that a third party is present in relevant position where the state is stalking. This is the system. So this third party is on foot standing at the corner at Nevada and Euclid, and with the back facing me. This is that passive-aggressive stalking conduct. They are present on behalf of the state, which is the stalker. That is group stalking. And they represent a communication device. And I'm also looking above where the state is directly over me, remaining present in airplanes that are just stationary in the sky above. And third parties in traffic are adding light activity. They are each crossing path with a communication device. This is P.O.C. as I stand on the sidewalk outside. And like I was saying earlier, just as I voluntarily moved out of my own home in Upland, California, when I first became aware of my privacy being invaded, and that by a third party that I was living with who happened to be related to me, I immediately moved away from that third party, who immediately became violent and also became one who wanted to summon the police very often for no reason whatsoever, and engaging in the malicious P.O.C. of defamation with the police. The third party that I was living with immediately engaged in that pattern of conduct, and again, baseless, groundless conduct, but it is a form of the system's pattern of conduct with regard to that targeting conduct upon documenting and becoming aware. And like I said, the more I documented what was occurring, the more aggressive and the more violent and the more hostile third parties and the state become. And so this is where you have police engaging in visual stalking, whereas before I hadn't, prior to that, noticed the police engaging in ubiquitous presence wherever I am. That is group stalking by the entity of the state of California. They are doing it in the same way that third parties do it. You have stalkers that are present as a group. They're just different faces engaged in the same criminal system. In the same way, the police are engaged in group stalking. They are different faces acting as a group. That is how you engage in group stalking, and that is also how you attempt to conceal that criminal stalking conduct by using more than one face. And what I am speaking to is the irrelevance of it's irrelevant insofar as identifying the pattern of conduct of group stalking, but it is definitely relevant with regard to actors that are engaging in that criminal conduct. But the state is, via the police, engaged in group stalking in that same exact manner. The group stalking conduct using airplanes This is that which is not, it's an attempt to be an anonymous conduct, but it's not, because only the state is engaged in using airplanes to stalk an American citizen. The state alone is able to amplify activity that is audible, that is sound. And at the time where you are engaged in movement, which is a pattern of mirroring physical movement and activity on a communication device, that is pursuant to ongoing invasion of privacy at a very concentrated, magnified level, such that when you swipe the phone screen, activity is created, any kind of noise, and it is magnified in sound into your environment. That is how you monitor with communication devices, and that is the pattern of conduct. That is stalking with noise. That's what that is. And the state is engaged in stalking by entity. That is by police. That is by substitution, the fire and ambulance. They are engaged in, and I have documented it as such, engaged in the same stalking conduct, the same criminal use of their vehicles to create audible activity while in relevant position, while the state is engaged in constant light while group stalking is underway. Those are the elements of monitoring with communication devices. I'm currently at Sunkist and Euclid, where I have uploaded a plethora of videos of P.O.C. here. It is not a mystery. P.O.C. is existent everywhere I go, which is what my documentation also shows. But I am present here where, again, P.O.C. is nothing foreign. The fake sun literally moving north and south, remaining directly squarely above my head as I travel in any direction. This is the state engaging in that stalking conduct as I left third-party facilitating venue Economy Inn and walked north up Euclid Avenue, where the state has been present in airplanes flying directly over my head, flying directly over buildings to fly over my head, flying directly over the sidewalk and over streets to fly over my head, while third parties are acting in concert, not coincidentally creating activity that just so happens to be the ways in which you monitor with communication devices using light and activity. That is the concerted conduct that third parties are engaged in, and that is the significance of every picture, every license plate that I recited, every video that I took of third parties. And it is all prefaced by the state that is inevitably proven to be stalking by aircrafts as I move from place to place. And this is why, because they are the state, meaning California, the state of California is in ceaseless operation of a group stalking system. And this is how it is in operation. I've already established it, but this is yet another failure to be just a mere coincidence. It is impossible to have so many coincidences. And so this is another incidence of demonstrating the operation of group stalking in the state of California as it operates as I travel on foot. And this is P.O.C. by third parties and the state that are engaged in concerted conduct together to monitor an American citizen using communication devices, where the third parties act as a group maintaining presence. If at any time I make a sudden move or go in a different direction, a third party immediately arrives in relevant position in close quarters in order to be in the path with a communication device. That's what group stalking conduct is. They do not necessarily have to come up and talk to me or anything. They make sure that they are always present in relevant position with a communication device at any slight minor deviation from my path or my direction. That's what third parties do. And the state is engaged in the same. Following me as I walk on the sidewalk, follow me as I exit the store, follow me as I cross the street, flying directly over my head and remaining in very close presence, remaining directly above at high elevation, and planes that are just sitting in the sky and following. That is literally stalking by airplane, and also engaging in creating audible activity, flying at low elevation directly over me to create audible activity for monitoring with communication devices, while group stalkers, third parties, are also surrounding with communication devices. That's P.O.C. And if you listen in the background, you hear the helicopter. And you've got a group stalker walking in the dark. This is not a coincidence. This is P.O.C. You've got a group stalker walking past me while the state is flying by in a helicopter. That's called P.O.C. And I am capturing that in images right now. The helicopter is flying directly over Euclid, where I am standing at the ATM Euclid 1 food store, beer and wine at 603 South Euclid. and the helicopter is flying directly over Euclid, creating audible activity, and that's group stalker conduct. What I just pointed out, I took an image of him. He is an example of what group stalkers do. He is not acting alone. He is a communication device engaging in crossing path at close quarters, while the state is also happening to be flying over the street, flying over, creating audible activity in helicopter. This is group stalking. It is 10:16 p.m. It is P.O.C. These are third parties in traffic creating light activity, each of them engaging in monitoring as they cross path. That's P.O.C. This is all P.O.C. in traffic. This is P.O.C. by a third party that's coming from the parking lot, acting with the state. That is license plate 6 Edward 2 Paul 251, trying to fly by real quick so I don't get their license plate. And that is speaking to the ongoing knowledge. Third parties know and listen to everything that I'm saying while I am saying it. They are stalkers with the state. The state is the stalker. The state is the one. You're not talking about an individual stalker. You're talking about an entity. The state is the stalker, and the third parties are present on behalf of that stalker. What is in common with everything that I'm documenting about third parties? The state continues to be present in airplanes and helicopters stalking. That is that which prefaces the group stalking system, because it is the state of California that is operating that group stalking system, and every third party in relevant position is engaged in criminal presence to that end, monitoring with the state, and that is group stalking by definition. It is 10:18 p.m. and I continue to walk north on Euclid, where the state engages in all manner of stalking by entity, stalking by light, and stalking by noise, all manner of noise, and that is P.O.C. Okay, it's 10:27 p.m. I'm at B as in Boy Street and Euclid, and I have walked. You want to listen to the background first of all? That is monitoring conduct. The state is amplifying the sound of a train. Amplifying meaning making the sound of a train, which is or is not actually the train, because the train is not in motion on Euclid. I'm looking at the train. What I am looking at is the helicopter that is south of my location, flying west over Euclid Avenue in relevant position to me. The state is playing a loud sound, amplified sound of a train that is to criminally monitor. As I stand at B in Euclid, I am looking east to my left, and the state is engaged in surveillance, remaining directly above an airplane that is in the sky position, moving north as I move north, and also the state is also you can trade in that sound of the train with sirens, because the state was using sirens as I was walking north under the bridge, and again it was that same targeted use. It's very close by, and it only sounds for about 2 seconds, and the sirens stop. This is not an emergency. The state is engaging in creating audible activity. That was the sirens as I'm under the bridge, and again as I'm walking north on Euclid, as I am approaching B Street, the state engaging in close presence. That's stalking, letting me know that they are present in relevant position and creating audible activity for monitoring while they remain present. That is the P.O.C. for stalking. That is the P.O.C. for monitoring conduct by the state itself, creating activity using its sirens. And that was while I was walking on the bridge north on Euclid, and also as I was walking, I'm looking at the U.S.C restaurant, lunch and dinner cocktails. This is a closed down restaurant. It's right here at the corner of B Street and Euclid. It was while I was walking past the omnibus stop on Euclid. The state engages in sounding its sirens very briefly, creating audible activity. They're just creating noise as I travel outside. That's the criminal misuse of their vehicles to engage in monitoring, using all manner of noise, amplifying third-party vehicles that are driving by. They are heard for a very long distance. That's creating noise as well in that manner. And the state is also engaging in amplifying the sound of the train, amplifying the sound of airplanes, and patrolling around me in airplanes and in helicopter. It is 10:30 p.m. and I continue to walk north on Euclid. And this is criminals group stalking and monitoring as I walk outside, as I have shown in my video documentation, but I'm giving more than one example of it as I walk outside and record it audibly in real time as it's occurring, and interpreting the legal significance of the criminal conduct as it occurs. And it is criminal conduct where it's serving a criminal purpose of monitoring. And that is all prefaced by the state engaging in stalking by aircrafts and police. That's P.O.C. It's 10:30 p.m. and it's Still September 9th, 2020. It is 10:32 p.m. and I just want to go ahead and add this in as a note. The city Wi-Fi, that is the City of Ontario Wi-Fi, is not available for Wi-Fi availability. And again, this is not a coincidence. I'm just showing how the state is engaged in obstruction. There is not a curfew for the Wi-Fi availability. It is the City of Ontario Wi-Fi, as I am at the Ontario Town Center, and the time closures of Ontario Town Square, where I'm at right now. This is that which is, I believe it is published to be at 9 p.m. that this park area closes. But again, this is all prefaced under P.O.C. is central here. I have video after video of the state engaging and flying directly over me while at this third-party facilitating venue, and while group stalkers, that is third parties, engage in that criminal conduct with the state surrounding under the state's fake sun, which remains directly over the town square, in contradiction with every other place that I also documented that same fake sun object directly above me, which is impossible to mutually occur at the times that they occur as well. This is stalking by light conduct, and this is where the Wi-Fi is unavailable, as I took an image of it. And as I sit here, I'm looking at the state engaging and flying over by helicopter. It's 10:33 p.m. And I got that in images right here. It's flying over the Wells Fargo. That is P.O.C. And what you got here, you got third parties. I got them. They are not just present by coincidence. This is what I'm showing. You don't have the same conduct occurring over and over and over again that just happens to be a coincidence where the state is stalking. That is how they engage in group stalking. They each represent a communication device, and also engaging in visual presence in close quarters at the time that I stop movement and sit here at Ontario Town Square, and also speaking to the fact that the Ontario Town Square, this is the City of Ontario Wi-Fi, by the way, is not available. And I have previously, again, used the Wi-Fi in the middle of the night. There is not a curfew for the Wi-Fi, but there is where you are engaged in using the internet to publish criminal conduct of the state that is occurring on your property, in your neighborhood, and attempts to obstruct that ability to do so. But again, like I said, I have engaged in using the internet well after this time because it is not a curfew. It is the city Wi-Fi, but I just want to document how it is not available. And it's 10:34 p.m. and that is not a coincidence either. I am at Ontario Town Square, where that was a helicopter flying directly over. That is another incident of the same criminal conduct. It's flying now on the opposite side. Now it's flying, that would be east, approaching to the Ontario Town Square. What is so fascinating, this is the same thing that I captured in Los Angeles. You need to review my documentation that is uploaded, as Los Angeles provided an extraordinary exhibit of group stalking in its city at Union Station. And as I traveled around, and Ontario is engaging in the same, that which is going straight to the internet, as it is direct evidence of stalking, and it is within the context of what I am demonstrating. What I am showing is group stalking occurring in the state of California at every place that I go, because the same pattern of conduct of stalking by the state in concert with the group presence of third parties acting in concert with that state. This is P.O.C. and that was another instance of the helicopter flying over. It's 10:35 p.m. So it flew as I sat down on the bench and started speaking. You have them engaging in monitoring. They are monitoring what I'm doing on my phone as I turned on Wi-Fi. That's what the significance of this is. You've got third parties that come out of nowhere, crossing path, which I took images of. You have the helicopter that flies to my left, flying west over the Wells Fargo, over the Ontario Town Square. This is as I turn on the Wi-Fi button. They are monitoring my communication device use. And then you have the helicopter again flying to my right, as it flies in the east direction to my right, over the Ontario Town Square. They are monitoring what I'm doing on my phone. This is stalking conduct, and that is clear. I don't even think I need to speak to the fact that the helicopter was just captured flying over where I was at Sunkist and Euclid. Okay, this is In addition to the substantial evidence I have on my website of the helicopter, stalking by helicopter at every other place and city where I am at, you're talking about Los Angeles, you're talking about San Bernardino, you're talking about Ontario, you're talking about Fontana, everywhere that I go, it's not limited to the Inland Empire. Although I am currently limited to the Inland Empire because my vehicle was stolen in 2019 by the very same entity that I'm documenting engaged in group stalking and monitoring. But prior to that, I was documenting the state stalking conduct in San Bernardino County, Los Angeles County, Orange County, and before that, before they started stalking by helicopters and airplanes, I was being followed and engaged. The state was engaging in group stalking by police, and everywhere that I traveled, I was documenting the ongoing presence of the police at every place that I went. This is a prolonged matter of documentation of the system and all the ways that it manifests, all the indicators, all of the hallmarks of what is group stalking. It's 10:37 p.m. and I remain at the Ontario Town Square, and that is the absence of another coincidence where the helicopters are flying over me as I remain at Ontario Town Square. It is not funny at all. I'm just showing how ridiculous and how it is like profoundly just groundless speech that is basically the absence of any legitimate reason or excuse or argument for what is clear-cut stalking conduct by a government, period. And you have third parties engaged in what is just, it is criminal conduct because that they're acting within a pattern of conduct. But like I said, the facts speak for themselves, and the state that is insistent and determined to engage in that stalking conduct is documented while engaging in it. And it's just more evidence against itself. And that's exactly what Los Angeles provided that I posted about at the end of July as I walk in Ontario, and they're stalking by light, the fake sun literally remaining above my head as I'm walking north on Euclid Avenue, remaining in the same position directly above me, irrespective of whatever direction, and then remaining above me as I'm on the Metrolink traveling to Los Angeles. It remains above me squarely in the window of the Metrolink, replete with airplanes and helicopters outside of my window as I'm on the Metrolink, and then helicopters flying over me at the Los Angeles Union Station as I walk outside at Cesar Chavez in Alameda. Are you kidding me? This is a ridiculous pattern of conduct that I have documented systematically as they engage in it. At a profoundly criminal level, and as the more that they continue to do it, the more that I continue to document it, and so around and around we go. The evidence exists. It is already proven. This is a matter of being prosecuted because essentially we're talking about a government that's engaged in it. The state is already prosecuted. The evidence is already out there. It is already done. This is a matter of legislation that needs to be passed, and I am showing how the state is not impervious to prosecution. It is not impervious to being identified engaging in these patterns of conduct. It is not impervious to being exposed as the criminal that it is, engaging in that conduct, targeting an American citizen, and then seeking to try to conceal it, which you cannot, because the evidence is irrefutable and insurmountable, and it is that which you are not capable of decreasing, not by any means of defamation or criminal harassment. You can't. It remains in existence in and of itself alone, and every act to try to diminish it is clearly, by any objective surveyor, that which is claimed and put forth by a criminal third party or a state actor engaged in that system, because there is no argument for it. There isn't. There is no plausible argument for what I am showing. Under the law is defined as stalking. It is the elements of monitoring with communication devices, and there is no way around that. And you do not have ever in life, it is impossible to have a series of coincidences that continue to occur over and over and over again. And not only that, it's implausible. You can in no way try to act as though it is something that someone is making up in their mind, as they are documenting it in black and white evidence to be observed by any person. So the evidence is there, and not only that, it is published to the public. It is ridiculous, and the state is without any argument. It is a desperate and despicable and disgusting and absolutely profoundly malicious criminal. It engages in the most extreme methods of close presence. It is worse than the stalker ex-boyfriend that will not get over you and just hovers around you and is breathing on your neck and is sweating all over you because they're always they're always around you. They are always around and watching you and engaged in what you're doing and watching what you're doing and listening to what you're doing and trying to have an affect on you in one way or another. That's how the state is. And they are engaging in that by the multitudes. You're talking about a government. It is the most unthinkable level of SIIS conduct, and this is that which needs to be outlawed, and that is the legislation that I advocate for, because you have a government that is engaged in that. As unthinkable as it is, it doesn't matter what the opinion is, because the facts are what establish that is what is happening. And if this behavior was attributed to any individual, that is exactly what the conclusion would be. This person is sick. This person has issues. This person is disturbed, because that is not normal. Why are you so consumed with, why are you always present? Why are you always around where Erica Lorraine Spencer is? Why is that? Why are you so consumed with her? That is the exact thing if the same evidence was presented against an individual. This is evidence that is presented against an entity, okay? And this entity is acting in concert with the people of the state of California. And the law itself treats that entity no different. And that is what I am showing. There is no argument to treat the entity that is a stalker any different than any other individual that is engaged in stalking conduct in such an obsessive and highly criminal manner. The implications of criminal conduct are even greater, because it is a government that is engaged in that. And that is an egregious level of violation of unconstitutional and criminal and that which also is a matter of public corruption. And it is that which has yet to be ever addressed and openly exposed in society, because it has been designed to insulate itself. It has been designed to dismiss that targeted individual that claims, without any evidence, unfortunately, that they are subject to this system. And that fails here, because you have the evidence. Not only does it exist, but it is already out in the public. And everything I continue to gain to that end, is that which is additional evidence of that which is already proven. There is no argument for it, okay? There is no excuse where an American citizen is subject to helicopters as you're walking down the street, and this is a daily occurrence, okay? So the fact that I was inside of a room at third-party facilitating venue Economy Inn, where the state was engaging in the same exact criminal pattern of conduct, while third parties at that venue were acting with the state, and third parties, strangers, just wanting to engage in criminal conduct with the state, coming onto the property to be present with communication devices and stalking by their presence to engage in that criminal monitoring system. I was subject to it while inside of that room. I am now outside of the room and showing exactly what is occurring on a ceaseless basis. Economy Inn is a criminal stalker, a third-party stalker with the state of California. I have shown that as I leave those premises, and the state is engaged in the exact same conduct. You've got total strangers out in public engaging in the same behavioral patterns. You don't just so happen to engage in creating light activity. That happens to be how you engage in monitoring with communication devices. That just so happens to be happening while the state is also stalking me by helicopters and airplanes and with police who are sounding their sirens while they're stalking around back corners. This is P.O.C. And this is a state system. This is a government system in operation. And I am showing how they engage in that group stalking conduct, and even more aggressively so upon one being aware and then having the audacity to confront it and expose it, which is exactly what I'm doing. The state of California is already prosecuted. The case against the state of California is already done. They've already lost. And they lost because, number one, it's not a secret anymore. And every third party that engages in every form of obstruction and facilitation, by obstruction of the ability to publish, by obstruction of the ability to speak about that which the state is subjecting them to, and that is via also the criminal acts of defamation and harassment. That is facilitation as well. That seeks to oppress that targeted individual, that seeks to dismiss what they are claiming, where a government is engaging in that which poses a credible threat, and that conduct is that which is designed to facilitate the state's pattern of conduct. That is criminal conduct yet to be addressed by legislation, and that is what third parties are engaged in by the masses on the internet, and also third parties that are engaged in the state's criminal conduct in relevant position to me. Okay, and this is that which has yet to ever be written down in the law books, and it needs to be, and that's what I'm advocating, because at every avenue you have criminal conduct by the very actors, the very vessels of the state, and they are obsessive stalkers, flying around, hovering around, not able to get enough. And I'm not putting it in a humorous context because it's not funny at all, but that is exactly what the character of the conduct is. They are obsessed. They cannot get enough. and they are engaged in obsessive, very close, hovering conduct by the masses, by the group conduct alone. And they act as a group. The state and third parties alike. And again, third party conduct is attributed to the state. The state is the one that is operating that system. Third parties are present on behalf of that state. And there is never any coincidental presence in the zone of relevant position where the state is engaged in the constant element of light and the constant element of group stalking by its own presence and by its own third parties. That is the people of the state of California who are acting criminally with that state. I am at Ontario Town Square. It's 10:47 p.m. and I was originally starting with the fact that Wi-Fi is not available and there is no, I'm going to say now, I have used Wi-Fi late at night and there is no curfew for the city Wi-Fi. This is another aspect of obstruction, especially when you are engaged in publishing the criminal conduct on the internet. And this is exactly what they were doing while I was inside of Economy Inn. After I capture their criminal conduct, they have the audacity to try to block my ability to publish it onto the internet. And so that's just going from venue to venue, and it just speaks to the malice of the system. And I have already shown that by the criminal conduct of the judges that I documented engaged in that. And everything that the state engages in speaks to the criminality of every judge and every attorney engaged in the P.O.C. of whether it was harassment while I was at the job and they were engaged in the state's P.O.C. or whether it was criminal activity engagement in the state's P.O.C. For criminal concealment and obstruction in the courts, in the criminal courts, seeking to bring on a malicious and fictitious prosecution and engaging in the criminal acts of concealing and obstructing my ability to bring a civil case against the state of California. I'm speaking of Judge Garza at the San Bernardino Superior Court. The judges Appaloo, Brody, Rogan, every single last one of them, Faherty, who was not even a judge. You have Vanessa Rodriguez, you have Laura Alvarez. These are criminals. You have Reza Ronagi. You have the absence of any coincidence. I am speaking of how at every single aspect that I have had exposure to, the system is in operation and everything that continues to occur is speaking to that. It is all speaking to that. And what I mean directly is that the state engaging in stalking by helicopters is more incriminating to Lisa Rogan, who engaged in defamation by slander and libel in the courthouse on February 18th when she subjected me to her criminal act of obstructing my ability, first of all, to be free from false imprisonment and the perpetration of a fake prosecution against me by a DA that doesn't even exist and serving the criminal purpose where I was documenting the police. That is Jason Knighton and L. Keys engaged in state stalking by police, which is a long existing pattern of conduct. Everything that the state does is probative of every other officer of the court that I have documented engaged in the state's pattern of conduct. And that's what I'm saying. All the facts remain related, every single last ounce of them. And so this is how the state is prosecuting itself, because it's already been proven. The case has already been proven, and the state is literally prosecuting itself, as every act that it engages in is more probative of that which has already been documented and published and exposed and exemplified as another act within the same pattern of conduct. It is 10:50 p.m. and you've got a third party that is in relevant position, parking, engaging in form of by going to Wells Fargo, and that's not a coincidence. You've got the state engaging in relentless stalking conduct present on behalf of the state. That is while the state is directly above me in airplanes, the same star-looking airplanes that are not stars. That's called surveillance, remaining present, listening to every word that I speak of it. That is P.O.C. It is 10:50. That is the sound of an amplified train. Making any noise louder than it naturally is serves the purpose of activity creation to engage in criminal monitoring. That's P.O.C. That's a state flying over by helicopter. As I am walking south on Euclid toward the museum. That's P.O.C. That's the state. As I leave from Ontario Town Square, the helicopter in front of me flying east across the street to over the museum, where the state that is a stalker and flies over and around me at the museum is creating audible activity, crossing paths. So the same conduct that third parties in the state do, meaning the police and third parties on the ground do, is surrounding crossing path. That's what the state is doing in airplanes. They are crossing path above me, flying in front of me, flying behind me, flying around me as I move on foot. And that's what the helicopter was doing as I am at the Ontario Museum of History and Art on Euclid Avenue. And the nearest cross street is at Transit Street. I am directly across at 150 East Holt, where that is the state in helicopter. And again, the same planes engaged in stationary presence in the sky. They are just remaining present, moving, remaining directly above me as I move, much like the fake sun object. It directly remains over my head relative to my position. It remains squarely above me as I move. That's what the state does in these airplanes. They keep a static presence in the sky, not creating audible activity. They're just present, engaged in surveillance, while the helicopter creates audible activity, and while the state uses airplanes that fly down lower at lower elevation, creating audible activity. Again, that's the helicopter that I did capture at images. It's 11:01, so that was at 10:59 p.m. As the state is flying crossing path that is monitoring conduct, stalking conduct by the state as I move from Ontario Town Square, where the helicopter was also flying over me, and also where I left Sunkist and Euclid Avenue, where the helicopter was also flying over me. This is as I am at the Ontario Museum of History and Arts, where I have substantial documentation of stalking by the state, stalking by light, and stalking by activity. This is P.O.C. It is 11:02 p.m. It is 11:10, and that is the helicopter again, engaged in that which I have many, many videos of, the state flying around me while I'm at the museum, engaged in stalking and monitoring at the Ontario Museum of History and Arts. It's 11:10 p.m. Now this is just an example of when the state is engaging in flying visually in front of me. The state is always present in aircrafts. The state remains engaged in surveillance, always present, always ready to come out of close, relevant positioning in order to cross path like it is doing right now. The helicopter, in other words, is what I'm saying. The state is always present literally in helicopters and airplanes. I am not exaggerating. And they are readily able to and have demonstrated their creation of audible activity at the drop of a dime. The same with the police. This is what I'm saying with regard to state presence. Group stalking conduct by the state is where they are perpetually present, whether you see them or not. And the reason why I know that is because my documentation demonstrates the ongoing stalking presence by the state, if not visually, audibly, where they are sounding their sirens, they are amplifying their plane engines, they are amplifying the helicopter activity. Not only is that the P.O.C. for stalking, group stalking by the state, it is the P.O.C. for monitoring, as they are creating audible activity while they remain in relevant position, while third parties on their behalf and in concert with the state remain in relevant position with communication devices, and light is constant. Those are the three elements of monitoring conduct. This is the state engaging in that as I, again, have left economy in, where the state was ceaselessly engaged in the same system. I have documented it as I left economy in and walked north on Euclid Avenue to the Ontario Museum of History and Art, where the same system is ceaselessly underway. You see how it operates or you are witnessing how it operates while I am in motion, while I am traveling on foot, how third parties engage in that concerted criminal group stalking and monitoring conduct with the state that at every step was present, flying over me and stalking by police sirens, by airplane and helicopter. Okay, this is the system in operation. It does not get any clearer than that. And this is for every person to witness and understand what group stalking is, and how it is not a series of coincidences, and how in the face of evidence you cannot plausibly and seriously posit that a targeted individual is merely making it up. There is not enough coincidence in the world, in the galaxy, and that is an implausible argument by what are third parties and the state actors engaged in that criminal system that is designed to never be exposed, literally. And so even where they have no facts to support that argument, in the face of facts proving the criminal system in operation, they cling to the only thing that they have clinged to, because you have to understand there was never any plan. It was never part of the agenda for group stalking to be exposed. And that is because there's no argument to make stalking presence by the government legitimate. There is no argument for that. None whatsoever. And where you have those facts and you are demonstrating group stalking by the people of the state of California with that state, there is nothing else to say other than try to lie and claim that that targeted individual is crazy. That's where that comes from. It is not rocket science whatsoever. It's not sophisticated. It is not intricate. Because there is no argument, they resort to, oh, that person is crazy, even in the face of, now that works, and it probably has worked, unfortunately, but this is another service that I'm providing to the public, because any targeted individual that has had their freedom taken while being subject to the system and being defamed as crazy, when in fact they were probably subject to this and they did not have the evidence. They probably lacked the skill set in order to engage in documenting it, engage in placing it into a subset of facts whereby you're sitting down and studying this conduct, what it is that they're doing and why they are continuing to do it over and over again. And that's what I've done. But you've got targeted individuals who, being subject to the system, very likely do not have the ability to do that and have not done that, and very likely have been falsely claimed as suffering some mental issue. And that is a tragedy. That is sad. And I have seen where Lisa Rogan took my freedom because she is a criminal acting pursuant to the pattern of conduct of state concealment and obstruction to keep the system concealed, sought to defame me in a court, that the state's venue for facilitation of its own criminal conduct, defamed and slandered me, took my freedom, and then did it on the grounds of being committed in a fictitious prosecution where there wasn't even any fake trial. Okay, they didn't even go through the process of at least doing a fake trial. They jumped from trial readiness conference to putting me back into false imprisonment. And then on top of that, to add insult to injury, she goes into defaming my character and claiming commitment. And while subject to in false imprisonment, I never once ever rendered what I understand to be my legal right to consent. I never consented to any of those criminals. But what I was able to get firsthand documentation of are criminals that work in the medical field, work in the mental health area, seeking to act pursuant to the state's criminal P.O.C, while the deputies and the inmates were engaged in monitoring, while the state was flying over the jails, flying over, engaged in the same exact conduct while I was subject to false imprisonment. You have that aspect of the P.O.C of seeking to defame me, trying to get some medical professional to have a reason to state that they examined me. I'm putting this in air quotes, that they examined me, that they spoke with me, that I consented to counseling sessions. I never consented to any of it. From the beginning to the very end, I never consented, because I understand that to be a legal right. You have to consent to speaking to any alleged medical professional. They are criminals, and I cannot stress this anymore. I am not being hyperbolic. I am not exaggerating. You are talking about the medical professionals in the jails acting pursuant to the state's criminal system. Lisa Rogan was engaged in that. They are acting pursuant to that, where I am subject to false imprisonment, i.e. they're against my will, against the law and the provisions of the Constitution. I'm illegally present. They do not have a right to keep me there. And while medical professionals, pursuant to that illegal confinement, engaging in facilitation of that system, seeking to try to create some paper trail of having ever examined me, which they did not. Never consented to it, never provided them any information about me. And I submitted grievances through the internal system inside of the jails the entire time, which they did not acknowledge because they are criminals. The grievance system is managed by the same criminal entity that's operating the P.O.C inside of the jails, but I maintain documentation of every grievance that I submitted, subject to being defamed by West Valley Detention Center as well, Glen Helen Rehabilitation Center as well, changing me from orange clothes, which is basically normal people, to gold clothes, which is defamation by implication, by changing my clothes and forcing me to do so, based on pursuant to the libelous conduct of an employee at Glen Helen Rehabilitation Center, having never spoken to me, lying on paper, stating that she did, and then pursuant to that lie, which is libel also, and it is facilitation of that system, and this is while I'm subject to false imprisonment, okay? And then pursuant to that, transferring me to West Valley in order to have me changed to gold, to have me placed with inmates who are supposedly, quote unquote, mentally disturbed. This is how that system was in operation, okay? And so I go through that, which is another example, which is thoroughly documented, okay? I did not stop documentation while I was subject to false imprisonment. I was documenting the entire time. While I am speaking to, while the helicopter is flying over me at the Ontario Museum of History and Arts, okay, there is the absence of any legitimate argument on behalf of the state and on behalf of third parties acting with that state. And this is why they resort to that. Now it has been drained. It has been robbed of any substance whatsoever. They have nothing because of the evidence against them. And so in the face of that, this is what you see third parties doing, engaging in cruel and malicious conduct online in the face of what is a government that is criminally targeting an American citizen, and that is clear in what I've published online. And you have them engaging in what is an unnatural, what is a reaction that is not commensurate to what is that which is a reaction which no objective surveyor would ever, I mean, a normal person having compassion, which is not a third party or participating in that criminal system, they would never react that way. And they react in such a way to resort to blaming, stating that the target individual is crazy, where you've got direct evidence of being followed. Being stalked is being followed. Being stalked is where this person or this entity is always present where you are. That's stalking. And so when you present evidence of that, and then third parties in the state resort to blaming you by calling you crazy, by defaming your character, by publishing lies about your abilities and about your history, which they know nothing of, if they're not the group stalkers that they claim to be. So this is a system in operation that has the absence of any defense for its criminal conduct, and it was never designed to have anything but the claim, the defamatory claim that targeted individual is crazy. And so I just gave a real life example of what Lisa Rogan did. Lisa Rogan did not act by herself. Okay, Kyle Brody, Kimberly Appaloosh, Shannon Faherty, Laura Alvarez, Vanessa Rodriguez, Reza Ronagi. I have the whole list of officers of the court that engaged in that system, and then I have the deputies engaged in that system inside of the jails, and then the officers engaged inside of the system, engaged in that system, falsely arresting me. You know, I've documented it from beginning to end, and I have shown how that system is in ceaseless operation to the point to where even on the sidewalk as I walk outside and planes are flying over my head and helicopters are flying over my head everywhere that I go, this is plain evidence of what is irrefutable. And so this is what I'm showing. It is direct evidence against themselves every time they engage in the elements of P.O.C. It is direct evidence against itself, that is the state, every time a third party and or state actor engages in defamation and or harassment as a means to try to refute that which is irrefutable, and that is evidence of group stalking. Period. Because it is not only because it is not a natural reaction in the face of the evidence that is published, because it is a means of facilitating that state system, because the system is designed to dismiss the target individual and defame them. That's what Lisa Rogan was acting complicit to in the court system, and that's the pattern of conduct of facilitation. In the state's own venue of the court system. And so that is what third parties do. And so anyway, it is 11:22, and because I have so much documentation, because I have seen so much, I mean, and this is why I created a podcast, to not only do I have the video documentation and pictures, but I have so much as far as context, as far as interpretation and legal analysis with regard to what you are looking at. Okay. And I do narrate in my videos, but I mean, I can break it down as far as, and not only that, by name and badge number or bar number, because I documented all of it. I documented every single last ounce of it because I had every intention of exposing every aspect of this criminal system in operation. And what the state is operating on now is clear arrogance because it has already lost. It has already lost. The one thing that the state did not want was for this system to ever be exposed. It was never supposed to come out of the darkness. And as much as third-party venues on the internet can try to rearrange the Google search results under my name, they can engage in trying to take off my page off the internet. They can engage in trying to redirect people that search for my name, directing them to some upload or post from the past, in order to take my documentation out of context, to show defamatory and targeted harassment by third-party users on its platform. They can engage in all those tactics all they want. It does not change the fact that the information is out there and that group stalking is no longer a foreign concept. I have provided not only the breakdown of the conduct, the criminal conduct, and how you identify it, but I have provided an ample amount, a substantial amount of direct evidence of documentation of what it looks like on a day-to-day basis, how you analyze what appears on the outside to be everyday conduct and what also has the substantive values of the elements of monitoring while group stalking is underway. And there is no coincidence where that exists. And so anyway, it is 11:24 p.m. and I will digress here at the Ontario Museum of History and Arts, where again, I have already shown the state engaged in stalking with its light, its enhanced light tactics, i.e. the fake sun that rises directly above this museum, right? But also my documentation where that same fake sun object is squarely above my room at Economy Inn. All you need to do is look at a map and you look at the locations relative to each other. Like I said, the documentation on the state's criminal conduct of stalking with light for the criminal purpose of monitoring with communication devices, where it is acting in concert with group stalking third parties who remain all around in relevant position at all times, which is why they are stalking by light, because this is how you can travel and monitoring is unhindered. That's the significance of that. You have the state's fake sun object that was also directly above the room at Economy Inn, remaining directly above the parking lot at Economy Inn, remaining directly over the parking lot, and then slowly migrating while remaining present all day long into the evening from over the parking lot to Euclid Avenue, which is remaining at the same venue, directing its impossible light activity all day long. But what you have is my documentation, and it is cumulative in that way, because it is showing how not only it's a readily provable fact, a scientific fact, that the sun is not at any of the places that I've shown, but to be thorough and break down the fact that no, there is no argument whatsoever, there is no chance, there's no possibility, there is absolutely no room whatsoever for even trying to suggest the possibility that it is actually the sun. It is not, and my documentation shows that, and it is cumulative in that respect. It's 11:26 p.m. It's September 9th, 2020, and I started with the fact that the state was engaging in criminal stalking and monitoring, which is ceaseless. It is not only occurring as I'm capturing the helicopter flying over the museum where I'm at. It is ceaseless. Okay, so the significance of what I document is it's proof of the state stalking me. It is proof of the state creating audible activity in doing so. But that system is in ceaseless operation. The state creates audible activity in all means, okay? Whether directly by the state itself or through third parties or through amplification of any kind of noise. Okay, it is not only in operation when the state is flying directly over me visually in an airplane. That is not what is occurring. The system is in operation 24 hours a day, 7 days a week, and it has to be in order to monitor. That is P.O.C. Erica Lorraine Spencer, and again, you can find my documentation online. This is documentation that is significant with regard to my leaving third-party facilitating venue Economy Inn, where, as I showed in my documentation, as I was providing on social media sites, the ongoing P.O.C. of criminal group stalking and monitoring, and what the documentation that I am showing tonight, September 9, 2020, from my departure of that venue where P.O.C. was underway in concert with the state. As I move, as I travel, that system remains in operation in concert with the third parties that are engaged in that identical behavioral pattern, engaging in the criminal elements of monitoring while group stalking is underway. Where you are engaged in the criminal elements of monitoring, you are a group stalker because you are present on behalf of that criminal entity, the state of California, that is irrefutably stalking by airplanes and helicopters and police. Okay, and so that is group stalking as I go from place to place. And tonight it was leaving Economy Inn and walking north on Euclid Avenue to Ontario Town Square, and then back to the Ontario Museum of History and Arts, where I remain. And the state is present and engaged in by evidence that I have already provided, flying over by helicopter, but the state is present by police. They are remaining in perpetual presence in concert with third parties. The state is present by airplanes. And all methods of group stalking and monitoring underway as I remain at the Ontario Museum of History and Arts at Euclid Avenue in Transit in Ontario, California. It's 11:28, and my name is Erica Lorraine Spencer, and that is the P.O.C. That is the sound of the train. It is 4:10 a.m. And so what you want to be aware of is the fact, oh no, it is not 4:10 a.m. Sorry, it is actually 4:55 a.m. And what the state is doing, as is the character of all activity, whether it is an airplane, whether it is a motorcycle being amplified inside of my room, whether it is a third party that is walking a dog that barks, whether it is a third party running outside of my room or outside of any place where I'm located, this train is being used as a method of activity, and it is mirroring my movement. So as I literally reached into my pocket, you have the state engaging in the creation of noise in the form of the method of the train, which is sounding a horn at the same time I'm reaching into my pocket, sounding the horn at the same time that I'm touching the screen on the phone. This is the same character of conduct that I documented while outside, where the state engaged in turning off the street lamp at the same time that I touched my phone screen while I was documenting the third party engaged in group stalking crossing my path. That is P.O.C. And again, this is the 13th time that the state has used this train while I've been at the museum. This is P.O.C. for the state's group stalking and monitoring, while the state is also engaged in directing light and possible light activity onto the museum. That's the combination of light. That is a combination of ongoing audible activity that is amplified, while the state is also vibrating the grounds of the museum. That is not the train that is actually engaging in that. This is a pattern that the state engages in. Rumbling the room, vibrating the room, shaking the room. I documented that at Mayfair Inn. That same conduct engaged in at Woodside Senior Apartments. That is sensational activity. That is the use of touch in order to engage in monitoring conduct. That's the state. And while at the museum, not only is this train, and not only is the train used audibly, but the train, when it's not even actually in motion, like it is right now, the train is used as a form of audible activity when it's both in motion, meaning actually on the tracks moving, and also when it is not even on the tracks. The state is literally, like, you could basically say, playing a tape of the sound of a train and playing it at a very, very loud volume, which I have termed it to be amplification, because it is the use of maximizing the audible impact of audible activity for purposes of monitoring. And that is conduct that the state does with all activity. It amplifies the sound of planes. And like I showed in my documentation, inside of my room at Economy Inn, which was the latest video documentation that I uploaded to YouTube, and on my Facebook and TikTok, you see the video of the state in front of my room. It's flying south after having flown directly over my room. And what I describe and what I am explaining in the description boxes, which it is vital to read the descriptions because I am providing context, I am narrating what is occurring. The state is engaged in amplification of plane activity inside of my room, and that is the only way that I would know that a plane is flying over my room, because as I stated in my description box, and as you can observe on the video, when I'm opening the door, you don't hear any plane activity. You only see the blinking plane as it is in the process of flying south and then turning east in front of my room after having flown physically above my room. Now, what is occurring is that the state is engaged in flying over my room systematically. repeatedly, continuously, as the state is engaged in flying over me everywhere that I go. It is the same pattern of conduct and process. What the state is doing, though, and again, after my having captured them at the edge of the roof right over my building, literally capturing them in video, flying directly over my room in real time, the state engaged in flying over, and then once they are at a distance, they are engaged in literally conduct that's analogous to like literally playing a tape of the sound of a plane, and they're magnifying that audible activity. So the state is amplifying the sound of a plane and targeting that audible activity inside of my room, and doing so at the point where the state has already flown over my room. And that is why in the video what you see is the state is already in front of my room, as opposed to being caught directly above the roof, much closer to my room, because I step out with my camera in hand and start recording seconds within the time that I hear that very loud activity of the plane flying over my room. The state's location in front of my room is not commensurate with the limited amount of time in between the very loud sound of a plane flying over my room and my opening my door to record it on video. This is the same pattern of conduct with regard to the use of creating audible activity that is amplified for the purpose of monitoring with communication devices while group stalking is underway. Group stalking by the state that remains present, as my documentation proves. The state is always stalking in airplanes, helicopters, and by police. And group stalkers, third parties, are present on behalf of that criminal stalker. That is California, and that is the people of California that are criminally monitoring. And so they are group stalkers in concert with that entity, in concert with California. And that is the same thing that is exactly happening. As my documentation shows, as I leave Economy Inn, this is probative of what is occurring while at Economy Inn, while at Mayfair Inn, while at any venue, while on the Metrolink, while on Omnitrans, while at Woodside Senior Apartments, while inside Stater Brothers, while inside Food for Less, while inside 7-Eleven. The system is always underway, and that's what this is probative of. And so with use of the train, the state is amplifying that sound of the train such that it's heard, as I documented this on September 9th, several hours ago now, basically, when I had originally left Economy Inn in order to walk north on Euclid Avenue. And that same train, which is on Euclid, is heard all the way at the south end of Euclid Avenue. And I have also documented that same train, as I stated before, heard inside of a private residence as far up as Vine and G Street. This is amplification of what is much louder than the actual train is. And in addition to that, it's not even actually the train that is necessarily in motion. The state is engaged in literally playing the sound of a train or the sound of any activity and amplifying it, making it much, much louder. That is the P.O.C. by the state. Amplification of any sound is indicative of state presence. It is also indicative of state monitoring. And it is 4:17. It is not 4:17 a.m. I'm at 603 South. You've got a third party sitting right in front of me, where the state just got through amplifying the sound of planes as I'm walking past 529 Sunkissed. This is a third party engaging in light activity. That's license plate 009. That's 00943 Mary 2. That's Sunkissed in Euclid Avenue. That's P.O.C. And the reason why you connect that conduct is because as I'm walking past 529, the state is engaged in amplifying the sound of airplanes, blowing airplane engines as I'm walking while I was recording that audible activity about amplification. The arrival of a third party at the stop sign, adding light activity, that is part of the same conduct of lining my path as I cross any street, as I make any moves with light and with their presence while the state is surrounding, creating all manner of noise, using the train, using planes and helicopters. That's P.O.C. by third parties acting with the state. I am at Euclid and Sunkissed. And this is what you want to note. The fake moon is remaining directly above me. You think that this fake moon is the same position as being at transit in Euclid, and it is not. I have moved and it has stayed directly squarely above me, just like the fake sun does. This is a distinctly different location where you also hear in the background the amplified sound of the train that just was in motion less than 3 minutes ago. That is the P.O.C. by the state. This is group stalking conduct. It's 5:03 a.m. and this is excellent documentation for showing how the state stalks with its light sources. This is systematic infliction of inhumane suffering type of conduct, which legislation has yet to address. That is not the moon that is remaining squarely above me as I walk from transit and move to a different location, south, mind you. I have moved south. Where you have moved a location, this moon object, which is not the moon, would not remain squarely above you. It would be at a distance to my left, having remained still while I moved about 7 minutes ago, but it is directly squarely above my head, as is the conduct of the state's fake sun object, irrespective of any direction that I move in, regardless of the fact that the sun moves from east to the west and it does not migrate north and south as I am doing right now. This is third-party conduct right here. Let's get this license plate. This is third-party relevant position 6 Nancy Henry Xavier 603. That's audible activity, and this is relevant positioning. This is intentional third-party conduct while the state is stalking with its light object, and while the state is stalking in an airplane with police. That's P.O.C. That is P.O.C. and you want to note that the state's ongoing stalking with its light source, that is also the hallmark of the system that is in operation. And meaning that is the evidence of state stalking by third parties and the state alike. Whether you see an airplane or not, you see traces of the state by amplification of sound, by stalking presence of light, which is not in any way behaving like the actual sun or the actual moon. The moon happens to be directly over me at the museum and directly over me at Sun-Kissed in transit, as it is also happens to be directly over my room and over my location in the middle of the parking lot at Economy Inn. This is a pattern. This is a pattern speaking to that which is occurring, which is also the substance of what I just happen to be documenting, which is the state engaging and monitoring. And that is how you monitor. And that is why you have the coincidence of the moon always being above me at night. As I move to the Food for Less parking lot, it is directly over me there. As I cross the street, that fake moon object crosses the street. All you have to do is pay attention to my documentation that I have already published to the public. It is there, it's available. And that is called P.O.C. And so as I move, this fake moon object, again, remains squarely above, moving with me. And this is the state that provides that ongoing proof of its own criminal conduct in the same way that it flies planes directly over me as I travel, and it goes straight onto the internet because it is proof of its criminal system that it apparently, just like Los Angeles, I mean, they literally gave an exhibit and it's like they wanted me to put it on the internet. That's P.O.C. and it is important to note because I capitalize off of the arrogant foolishness of an entity that is going to be prosecuted and in many ways has prosecuted itself. Because what I have is the collaboration, the combination of facts that are proving the absence of any coincidence. And you have that which is occurring with regard to what I'm documenting, and the use of a fake moon object at night and a fake sun object during the day, both of which have the unnatural ability or practice of, and when I'm not speaking about the object itself, you're talking about the state that is controlling these light objects that travel, that move necessarily in order to remain in central position squarely above me. The state is engaged in stalking with its light, while third parties are documented engaging in group stalking, while the state is documented engaged in group stalking. And its methods of airplanes and helicopters and police. This is where the facts all combine and establish what is, again, what I've already stated as irrefutable, and the absence of any coincidence. And so as I go back to third-party facilitating venue at 731 South Euclid Avenue, the state's fake moon object is present. During the day, when I travel to this location, the state's fake sun object is there. That in and of itself is probative of the entire system. You have group stalking underway. The state is stalking is always stalking, as I've already proven, and the state is also stalking with its light. Those are the elements of criminal monitoring, and that is P.O.C. It is like clockwork. We've got a third party arriving, and I'm going to document their presence while the state is also flying over the parking lot in an airplane. So this is this third party right here, and that is the state in airplane right here, flying directly over the parking lot. That is third party license 5JWV as in Victor 287. That is the creation of audible activity, relevant positioning, while the state is stalking an airplane, and again, while you have the fake moon object directly above me, and that is while I walk into the 7-Eleven. That is what third parties do. They engage in presence and activity creation as I make any move. That is exactly what the state does as well. That is the state that is flying over this parking lot. It's 5:09 a.m. and that's P.O.C. and the third-party employees inside of this venue are acting with the state. That's P.O.C., the absence of any coincidence. I'm sorry, one more time?
Your bag here. This one.
My bag?
Yeah.
Okay, you were here last night when I shopped, so why is my bag a problem right now?
My boss say see camera called me.
Oh yeah? This is the, I have several receipts from this venue, so since when did my bag become a problem? When did my bag become a problem? Because I shop here regularly. So when did my bag become a problem such that you're making me leave it at the front of the store? When did that happen? I was just here hours ago.
No inside bag, not inside alone.
No, I know. I'm asking you, when did your policy change? Because I'm a frequent shopper here. I have receipts. I shop here all the time with the same bag that now you're telling me that I can't have. Yeah, since when?
Not allowed bag.
Since when?
Why?
Since when? Since when?
Whatever?
Since
You make
when?
video.
Since when?
You make a video?
You hold phone.
Yeah.
You hold phone. Planes flying over this 7-Eleven. This is called third-party harassment. Since when?
Okay, what's your problem?
I'm asking you.
Bag not allowed inside fridge, inside not allowed bag.
Since when? You're changing a policy. Why and since when? I was here hours ago with the same bag. Why? Yeah, when I documented you engaged in P.O.C. This is the pattern by third parties, especially upon my documenting them engaged in P.O.C., finding a way to engage in targeting conduct, because that's what this is. This same employee was present, engaged in P.O.C. earlier today. They're creating audible activity in relevant position, and now is engaging in telling me that my bag can't come in, and after I have several receipts here. What? Go ahead, call the police. You're a third party. While he's engaged in calling the police for no reason, but what he is engaging in is that targeting conduct of telling me that I can't bring in my bags, which is what third parties habitually do when I am always carrying the same items. Again, my receipt and my documentation of the 7-Eleven where the plane flew directly over this venue while the employees inside were engaged in P.O.C. Because that's what this is, and this is third-party harassment inside of this venue. It's 5:12 a.m. and those are third parties that enter engaging with him in P.O.C. And that is at the 7-Eleven at the same location where the plane is flying over the parking lot outside. This is P.O.C. Okay, did you call the police yet? Did you call the police yet?
Why you make video? Why you make my video?
Is it illegal to make a video? Are you not recording video in the store?
Yeah,
So why are you asking me about video?
Why you make my video?
Why are you changing policy? Why are you targeting me? Why are you targeting me? And why are you yelling, sir?
Outside.
Why are you yelling?
Bag inside. Nobody inside allowed bag. Here bag allowed.
Right, that's fine. Why are you yelling and not answering questions, though? Are you mad because I'm asking you a logical question? You're threatening to call the police and you're raising your voice. Is there a reason why?
You problem, I call police.
You call the police. I'm not scared by your threats. You're a criminal, okay? Let's get that clear. Second of all, I asked you, why are you yelling? And I asked you a question. 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 You don't want to answer that question, but you want to threaten to call the police? That's what third parties do. That's what third parties do.
That's for my
That's exactly what third parties do. And also what you want to note is this is audible activity while I already captured the state that's flying over this parking lot. This is called P.O.C. and on top of that, this is third party harassment while they're engaged in P.O.C. Thinking you can intimidate me by mentioning the police that you are working with, it doesn't intimidate me at all. It doesn't. That's called third party conduct. With you and your employee that I documented engaged in P.O.C. earlier today. So you want to threaten to call the police again, or do you want to answer my question? What are you looking at?
The teacher pretty.
Don't try to change the subject, third party. Go ahead.
I'm not.
Go ahead, third party. He's talking to you.
Okay, ready? Okay, can I get a swisher and a Hawkins lighter?
This is relevant documentation because this is exactly what third parties do. While in the parking lot, as they enter 6 Mary, 0 Cat, 231, that's headlights through the door. That's light activity on me while we've got audible activity as I'm talking, as he's yelling. This whole exchange is providing activity. But what I'm honing in on is the harassment by a third party. And let's note, I've been here several times because I have all of the receipts, and what you have is engagement and harassment upon my documenting them engaged in P.O.C. Not only is that harassment, but it's based on fear because they have been documented. And the state flew directly over their store. Directly over their store. I mean, as I walk out, the state flew at low elevation over the storefront. That is P.O.C. And this is where they are engaged in harassment targeting conduct. I'm still waiting for him to call the police. Did you call the police yet? Or can you answer my question now? Right. Right, that's not my question. I asked you, when did your policy change? In a matter of hours after that plane flew over your store?
I know.
And I got pictures of it. Is that when your policy changed?
Which one? No policy change.
Huh?
Which one?
You were just laughing right now. What's funny? You understand English. Don't act like you don't. And you just threatened to call the police. Tell me why.
I know police.
But you picked up your phone. Hold on. But you picked up your phone acting like and yelling at me when I'm asking you a question that you still refuse to answer. No, you understand. That's why you're sitting here laughing. You understand exactly what I'm saying. You understand exactly what I'm saying. That's why you're laughing. That's why you're laughing. But I don't think this documentation of you and your venue is very funny. It's not helpful to you at all. So what I asked you, when did your policy change, third party?
No change.
Yes, it did. I was just here hours ago. Would you like me to pull out my receipt? Overnight, did your policy change?
I understand you coming always here. You go inside with bag. What my boss say? Bag.
Which is the boss? The one that came from the back when I went to go get a drink and you guys swapped places, which is relevant positioning while the state's flying over in planes? Huh?
You know any?
Was that your boss? Was that your boss?
No boss.
Oh, that wasn't your boss? So which one was your boss that saw me with the bag and had a problem with it? Where was that?
You only know you all body. No come inside with bag. Only no for you. All body. No come inside with bag.
Never have you ever said that to me before. But third parties, mind you, third parties have said this before as a means of targeting. But never have you said that. I've shopped here plenty of times. Never have you mentioned with the same item.
Yeah.
Yeah. So I'm asking you, when did your policy change? Because I was just here a matter of hours ago.
I know.
Oh, you don't know? Okay. So is that a question that makes you want to call the police? And makes you want to yell?
You go inside with the bag, I call police.
Okay. I go inside with bag, you call the police. Did you call the police when I was here and I made that purchase before?
Which one?
Of the body armor juice?
I have no time for you.
Did you call the police? Did you call the police when I bought the juice earlier last night? Did you call the police? Did you call the police when I bought the juice? Huh? Yeah, you're a criminal and you're documented as such. And then on top of that, you got the nerve to be documented as one that wants to harass me, honey. This is going on the internet. You're messing with the wrong person. You are engaged in P.O.C. and the state is flying all over your store in airplanes, honey. Those are not facts that are helpful to you, and you want to target me inside of your store where you're acting with the state? That is called the pattern of conduct by a third party. That's what that's called. Let's see. Where do you want me to put my bag? Because I'm going to purchase this, and I'm putting this shit on the internet. Where do I put my... Where? Where?
Any side there, front line.
Just in front of the chips? In front of the chips?
Inside with what? What pair?
Okay, and so you want me to leave my bag here? Here?
Yeah.
Oh, okay. What's your name?
Said.
Saeed? How do you spell that? How do you spell that?
Which one?
How do you spell that? What's your name?
My name is Sandy.
Sandy? Okay. Got it. You want to take video? We can take video of each other. That'd be great. This is P.O.C.
Okay.
This is called P.O.C. and this is actually a third party openly using a communication device, having no any reaction to being documented as engaged in P.O.C. Remember, the state is flying over this parking lot, and the state flew directly over the storefront as I completed a purchase, and this is third party engaging in targeting conduct, using my bag as a form of engaging in harassment, as I have completed several purchases before, and my bag not being an issue. This is P.O.C. It is 5:19 a.m. And again, upon entry, the state flying over. That's P.O.C. You can go ahead and call the police for that. That's completely legal. And actually what I'm doing is I'm documenting your criminal conduct. That's what I'm doing. Call the police about that. Oh, the police are engaged in that. Go ahead and call them. You think that that scares me? I document the police as well. I document them as well. Excuse me?
What's your problem?
My problem is that you engaged in targeting me by telling me I can't come in your store when I have been here several times, completed a purchase as short as within hours, and you want to tell me I can't walk in. That is a matter of harassment. That's what my problem is. And then when I ask you a logical question, respectfully, you want to raise your voice and threaten to call the police. I don't appreciate that, and that's why I'm documenting it. That's why. So you can threaten to call the police all you want. You're threatening the wrong person. And since you want to tell me to keep my stuff there, you better wash my shit. That's what I have a problem with. Oh, that got spicy nachos. Could have made my purchase and been out. That's what could have happened. Okay, well, I don't even see anything that I want. Oh! I'm just completing a purchase. That's what's going on right now. Can I have the bag, please? See you on the internet. That is P.O.C. Again, I'm at 731 South Euclid Avenue. That is another real world example of a third party engaged in the criminal POC of monitoring with the state, which again I captured on video flying directly over the parking lot, and I also captured audibly and in pictures flying directly over the storefront hours before. And while I also spoke to what was the third party employees, him and another employee engaged in relevant positioning inside of the store. As I walked to the back of the store, third party popping out from behind and crossing path inside of the store. That is relevant positioning. It's not a coincidental act of crossing path. It is while the state is flying directly over the storefront. Okay, that's POC in the store, and that is POC of harassment by an employee inside of the store, and they engage in that routinely, especially upon being documented as engaged in POC. You have a third party creating light activity at 805 Euclid Avenue. This is Jim's Burgers. This is a license plate 6 Henry. Hold on, I want to get this because this is a pattern. They engage in being in relevant position. This is the same exact conduct as what I documented through the tow truck that was creating light activity. This is license plate 6 Nancy. They have the hazards on. They are at Jim's Burgers, 6 Nancy Paul, B as in boy, 030 at Jim's Burgers, 805 Euclid Avenue. You've got the fake moon that is moving with me. It's directly over me. All of those are facts probative of what third parties are legally engaged in, which is criminal monitoring. He is in relevant position right here. He's in relevant position to me inside of 7-Eleven, okay? That's POC by a third party. He had his headlights and hazard lights on, creating light activity. That is the same conduct as the third party I documented when I exited, where the plane is flying over the storefront of 7-Eleven. The third party female is sitting in her car with the headlights on. That is the same conduct of the third party tow truck I documented and it is posted on YouTube as I exit this 7-Eleven, and the tow truck has hazard lights on in relevant position to me at the 7-Eleven, where the state is also flying over the 7-Eleven. This is POC. It is 5:26 a.m. That's the stalking conduct. It's called Jim's Titan Burgers. That's where that third party was at, parked in front of the closed Titan Burgers, creating light activity in relevant position to where I was at 7-Eleven, in relevant position the entire time that I walk south on Euclid toward that vehicle, toward that parking lot, which is across the street, and get the license plate, where that third party then goes to 7-Eleven, which would be on the security cameras of that venue. This is POC as I travel, and again, the state's fake moon object remaining squarely above my head. This is POC. One of the things that I want to note, again, you have the state's fake moon object, which is a light source. The state is stalking with light because monitoring is ongoing. And what is the same thing that I'm pointing out during the day is that as I travel in any direction, this light source remains squarely above my head. I just want to be clear because third parties act as though they do not have any common sense or any sort of level of common knowledge about basic things such as movement. The moon and the sun are not moving so fast that they keep up with you as you travel in motion. First of all, this fake moon object is at a low elevation, and second of all, the state has a pattern of, well, let's take out the state. Let's say the pattern is that the moon and the sun seem to always be directly above me and where I am located. And again, I originated my documentation showing how it was squarely above me at the museum. And so for it to be squarely above me at the same location where the state is also flying directly above the venue, where the state is already documented as engaged in flying over me and following me to this location, to this area, that is POC, first of all, for stalking. And the unnatural conduct, the unnatural behavior of that, what is alleged to be a moon, keeping pace and remaining in its same central position directly above me. That is not a moon, nor is that a sun, nor is that behavior indicative of that. So what you have is, what I want to point out is the ongoing pattern of stalking with light for monitoring with communication devices. And I just want to be clear, at 150 East Holt, that is distinctly different from Economy Inn in the middle of the parking lot. Again, check my documentation as recent as August 29th at, I believe it was 11:09 p.m. The fake moon object was squarely above my head in the middle of that parking lot. Do you think that that is a coincidence? It is not. The same fake moon, August 30th, directly above me in the parking lot where the state is flying over me, also at the same location in the Food for Less parking lot. As I move across the street, it is a distinctly different location. It is ridiculous to suggest that everywhere that you move, the moon remains squarely above you. And it is also identifiable in the pictures that I take, where you see I am capturing a completely different area, and yet you also see that fake moon object as it is in a different location. As I look directly up, that fake moon object is directly up above me, which is not the case if it were remaining still, because it is a distinctly different location. This is the same conduct, this is the same behavior that the state engages in with its fake sun object. It captured in distinctly different locations, moving in directions that are in conflict with the actual behavior and motion of the sun, and remaining present all day long, we're in contradiction with the actual behavior of the sun again, and also engaged in using that fake light, that enhanced light tactic to direct light onto the environment, also in a manner never occurring by the actual sun, even if it were present, because of the natural relative, the relationship between light, the direction that it aims, relative to buildings and constructions. Yet you have the state engaging in light, directing light in all manner of directions, which is also, whether you want to posit that it is actually the sun, the ILA is also in conflict with that. So this is the state basically in a position where there are no facts that are even helpful to it with regard to its use of fake light objects. And as I stand, you have the fake moon that is remaining directly above me. And so third-party conduct is under those under that umbrella of facts, if you will. That's what I'll state. You're not addressing any fact in isolation. You are addressing all of it relative to each other. And so that is what is probative of the entire system, where you are engaged in stalking with light. The only reason why you are doing so is because you are monitoring with communication devices. Monitoring with communication devices, light is central to that criminal conduct. And you are engaging in using a manner of light that speaks to more than one person. You're talking about a quote-unquote universal manner of creating light in an entire zone where more than one person can monitor together. In addition to the fact that the state is engaged in stalking conduct. This is the basic way that you break down all the facts that are relevant with regard to what is occurring. That is third-party license plate 3LY Mary 893 or 093, crossing path under the same facts. That is relevant positioning and light activity and audible activity. And that's the way they engage in monitoring as I travel anywhere. And that's P.O.C. So my focus right now is just speaking to the documentation that I'm gathering right now about the state's fake moon object, because it is directly probative of the same conduct during the day, which is the fake sun object. And that is not a coincidence, and I keep saying that because it just so is not, and no reasonable person could ever suggest that with a serious face. I mean, they could disingenuously, but not seriously. This is also movement in the same direction as the state's fake sun object. My documentation that I've already published on YouTube, it was toward the end of July, where I went through documenting the movement of the impossible light activity, that is the migration of the state's fake sun object, as I moved in every direction, from starting at the museum and moving east, then going south, and then going north, and documenting how the state's fake sun object remained directly over me even as I went to Los Angeles, and the whole time being followed by airplanes and helicopters appearing at every location that I was at. That is the conduct where I was walking, traveling on the same street, Euclid Avenue, and the fake sun in the same position as this fake moon directly above me the entire time that I'm traveling. That is P.O.C. 7 Charlie Zebra George 506. And I'm just reading license plates of third parties that are in relevant position, and there is no presence in relevant position where monitoring is not underway. The state is stalking, and the state is also pursuing with its fake light object directly above my head, squarely above me as I'm walking south on Euclid Avenue. That's P.O.C. for group stalking and monitoring. It is currently, let's see, 5:35 a.m. And this is just narrating as I continue to travel on Euclid Avenue and the ways in which that the state is engaging in its group stalking conduct, group stalking system, if you will, because it operates in concert with the people of California, and its primary method is through light. And the preeminent fact is the state that is engaged in stalking, and that conduct is, it's already proven at a ridiculously clear level. Another hallmark probative is the state's impossible light activity, because you do not engage in that light activity, you do not engage in aiming and directing and positioning and stalking with light, but for that same criminal purpose of group stalking and monitoring. And that is what is so relevant about the state's use of light. As I've shown, it occurs at every place that I go, inside and outside, as recent as the fake moon object directly over the museum, and it is in tow with me, remaining directly over my head. And so the fake moon object being directly over my head at Transit and Euclid, that is a distinctly different location than where I stand at Euclid Avenue, across from, let's see, where am I at? The nearest cross street would be, or if I can look at it, 1227 Euclid Avenue. Okay, so we're at quite a distance, having traveled south, and you have the fake moon object that remains directly above me. That is these are two specifically different locations, and that requires for that light object to be traveling in order to remain directly above me. I have traveled south, and that fake moon object was captured directly above me at that location, and in reality, ordinarily what would occur is as you travel, you would note the distance from that location, that original location of that light object being the moon. But what you have is actually that light object remaining directly above you everywhere that you are moving. And this is to show the fake moon object remaining directly above me. I'm at Euclid Avenue and Phillips. The nearest address, as I just read, I'm looking at that's the fake moon. I'm looking at 1227, where this fake moon is directly over my head. And again, I have traveled south. That is not the moon. And this is the same fake moon that is in the parking lot of Economy Inn. Also coincidentally in alignment to my room in the middle of the parking lot. And also directly over me as I exit that room, standing, in the sky directly above me at low elevation in the center of the parking lot. That's P.O.C. It's 5:38 a.m. and this is just to capture more visual of the state stalking conduct with light. This is the state stalking with a light source. That's the significance of a fake sun object and a fake moon object. It is a light source. That's P.O.C.